And here we go. All right. So thank you everybody for being here. My name's Kristi Yee. I am a reading specialist at Skyline Elementary and a former kindergarten teacher. And I'm going to pass it on to.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Luann Daniel-Libman. I am the principal currently at Skyline. This is my first year as an administrator, however, so I spent 5 years as a reading specialist here at Skyline. And I have also spent about 22 years working closely with CRLP. George is one of my colleagues there, and he couldn't be with us today, but we were very fortunate that he prepared for us extension from his November 1st PD in order to present it with you here today. And so we're going to go ahead and get started with some of the opening routines that we do for the California Reading Literature Project, CRLP. This training that we're doing today is part of a larger block of trainings that are done CRLP. So we kind of condensed it so that we could bring it here to you today. And the first thing we would like to open up to you is to have you create an intention for today. Your intention for today. Okay, do some people need a passcode to get in? Oh
no.
Okay, so Elaine taking care of it. Sorry to interrupt, but I want to have you talk about getting distracted here. Doing an intention for today. So one of those things that when we come to these PDs, we have so much going on. If you could see this morning, a lot of the words people were saying it was exhausted and you know, needing to pivot and all of those. So take a moment to see how you like to show up for our hour and a half that we're going to be spending together today. I oftentimes know I need to make sure I'm present and turn off my phone, turn off all the distractions. So I'm going to give you a moment. You have a piece of paper nearby. Just write down an intention you have for today and for your time with us.
I don't need paper. I'm set. I already planned yesterday.
So somebody needs to mute themselves, please. So, thanks. Okay, thanks. All righty. Okay, so now let's go on to the logistics for our time together. So one of the things that we really are coming up in agreement here is making sure you take care of yourself. If you need to do a bio break or something like that, please make sure you go and you do that. Make sure that you're fully engaged in our learning. We're going to probably be asking you to have group sessions and go into breakout rooms and fully present for your teammates there when you're having conversations and talking. Be mindful of other learners, making sure that since we are on Zoom together, that you are muted until you are either asked to unmute or in a breakout room to have a conversation. And to be part of the community, put your camera on as much as you can. I know some of you may not be able to, and we understand that. We have some digital resources that we're going to be passing on to you now. Kristi's going to drop that into the chat box for you. And this is going to house all the resources that you're going to need today. So let's just take a moment with that and take a look at the digital resources. Of course, you can go old school, have a piece of paper and sticky notes handy for you. But let me go ahead and open this up so we can kind of take a look and see together what it's going to look like today. So this is where you're going to have all of your resources here. So if you can, just quickly give me a thumbs up if you are able to access that and open that up. Are you guys able to open up the digital resources? Okay, I see some thumbs. Thank you. Okay, and so here is just giving you some of the resources, and like for example, when we're going to the Jamboard here a little bit later, we have our goals for our session, and then it's going to be a little bit later on in the session, we're going to do some text analysis, and it has the weekly planners that you can use for that. I do want to point out for you here the Padlet, and with the Padlet, this is going to be how we record our thoughts and how we are thinking things through today. And so with that, I can just see, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger here so you can see all of it. It's at times we're going to ask you to comment on a session that we had just completed. And we have a question or wondering here. So this is our digital parking lot. So if you have a question that's probably good for the group, please go ahead and put it here. If you have something that needs immediate attention, you can go ahead and utilize the chat, and Kristi and I will do our best to monitor as much as we can. Okay, so everybody good on digital resources? Okay. Okay, and these are our session goals for today. Okay, we have 4 of them there. Can I get a volunteer to unmute and read the first one, please?
Gain a deeper understanding of Common Core foundational reading skills standards for upper elementary and adolescent students.
Great. Thank you. Next.
Develop key background knowledge on syllabication around the 6 most common syllable types that upper elementary and adolescent students encounter in reading polysyllabic words.
Thank you.
Learn a routine for analyzing grade level texts to determine instructional needs around polysyllabic decoding.
Thank you. And the last one.
Become familiar with a lesson planning template for teaching polysyllabic word analysis skills tied to grade level text.
Okay, and so in the chat, if you can you please go ahead and put down numbering them 1, 2, 3, or 4, which one you are most interested in? Okay, and go ahead and put that in the chat. And I need to just see if I can let some people are having trouble getting in.
Uh-oh.
I don't know why.
Is it the password, Luann?
Yeah, so, all right. So I see 2 and 3, 3 and 4. Hello, Jill. Denise, hello. Darlene, hello. It's nice to see a lot of familiar faces and names. 2. Okay. Great. Wonderful. Thank you for doing that. And now we're going to do our a poll, check our before learning. And so Kristi's going to launch that. And so if you can just take a look at the first one. How confident are you in teaching the polysyllabic decoding to your students? And then which of the concepts are you familiar with? And check all of those that apply on that second one there. So can you see the poll? I see people,
Yes.
starting to answer it.
Well, that's good.
Mhm.
We got a lot of confident people. Yay.
Yeah.
We'll wait a little bit longer. Almost done.
Okay.
All right. One more person, 2.
All righty.
I'll go ahead and end the poll. And let's share results.
Okay. Okay. So
All right.
I have some though that, I've never taught polysyllabic word analysis. So that's great because that's what we're going to be touching upon. Okay. Good.
All right. Okay.
Wonderful.
And there we go.
Okay. And let me try to move it out of my way because
Did I close the poll sufficiently?
But-
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
for me, it moved it
So,
in the middle of my thing. So, all right.
so we're going to continue on, and I'm going to take over the screen. And can everybody see my screen now? Okay, give me a thumbs up. Thank you. So we're going to begin with a quick background on syllabication, or the process or method of forming or dividing words into syllables. So I want to ask you if any of these spelling errors look familiar to you. Particle, C-U-L for particle. Shun, information, S-H-U-N for information. Fable, B-U-L for fable. I love this one. Elected for elected. These types of errors are really showing they're indicative of students trying to apply single syllable spelling patterns to polysyllabic words. And we're going to see on the next slide that most single syllable strategies just don't transfer to polysyllabic words. So that's phoneme by phoneme sounding out strategies. They just don't work for multisyllabic decoding and spelling. Now, here's an example of single syllable spelling. Most students know the sound spelling patterns that we use in single syllable words, and they attempt to read the word like meet, M-E-E-T. Like, it was a pleasure to meet you today. And they match the sound spelling, eat, as long as they know that double vowel team with the EE equals a long E. And even if they're extremely proficient with single syllable decoding, the polysyllabic decoding and spelling involves first knowing where to divide the word, the position of the vowel, and then changing the vowel sound if necessary. So the second bullet here is we divide by syllable or morphemic meaning units. I'm so conscious of not saying morpheme, it's morpheme. So divisions in words can be by the syllable or the meaning. And a morpheme is the smallest meaningful unit of a word. So the morphemes for the word incoming would be 3, in, come, ing. And we can divide by meaning into morphemes, like the word raining. You can do the base word rain plus a suffix ing, ing, rain-ing. But we can also do it by syllables. So you could have ray-ning, R-A-I, second syllable, N-I-N-G, like this. It's raining, it's pouring. Do you hear that? Okay. So it's really important to know that open and closed syllables are the building blocks of syllabication and spelling, and it's the position of the vowel that matters. Now, we're going to drop a handout, or you actually have it in the digital resource of the Common Core State Standards Appendix A. And I'll give you a few moments to look at it, open it, read it over, and you can see the alignment to the Common Core State Standards. It should look like this. And it's 2 pages. So one way to help students transition from single syllable spelling to polysyllabic spelling is by teaching them to become fluent with the 6 common syllable types. And I'll be concentrating more on this middle of the document, which is figure 12. So you see the 6 syllable types listed here, and we start with a closed syllable. It's a syllable with a single short vowel letter ending with 1 or more consonants. So in the word operate, op, that's a closed syllable. Then it goes on to the final E. Sometimes we call it magic E, silent E, but it's a syllable with a long vowel and a consonant, and then the silent E, like ite in polite. Next is the open syllable. It's a syllable with a vowel at the end, and it always is a long vowel sound. Like in polite, it would be po, P-O, or maple, it would be may. Next are the vowel pairs, and we also know those as vowel teams or digraphs, sometimes diphthongs. And they're syllables with 2 to 4 letters to spell a vowel sound, like the AI, maintain, AI. The next one are R-controlled vowels. They can be spelled with E-I, ER, IR, OR, AR, UR, like the in transfer. And the last one is the consonant LE. It's that unaccented final syllable with a consonant before the ul, and it's followed by a silent E, like in tull for turtle. Okay. I'm going to return back to this slide, and those are the 6 common syllable types. All right. So now what we're going to do, we're going to create some breakout rooms with about 4 of you each, and we're going to give you 8 minutes. So I want to make sure that you click the link in the chat before heading into the breakout room and make sure you get your document open. And that would be the Jamboard off the digital resources. And I'm going to give you a little minute to go ahead and get that.
I put the document, the resources back into the chat. So let me know if you're unable to open up. You should be able to access the Jamboard directly from there.
So the Jamboard we're going to use is this one right here. It's the word sort. And you'll see that you already have the activities. I'm sorry, the directions on top of the activity. It'll ask you to make a copy. I've got 3 people on the internet in my house right now, so we're running really slow. All right, so here it is. And let me go back here. And what we're going to ask you to do with your team, you'll need to determine if that highlighted syllable, and that would be the one in all caps, is either open, closed, magic E, vowel team, R controlled, or the consonant LE. And let's have one person share their screen. And this is a great activity because it's self-checking. You should have 3 words per column. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to give you 8 minutes. So please make sure you have that already open for you and that you'll have the ability to share screen once you are in there. So one person can share. So I'm going to go ahead and invite you to go to your room.
Have fun. We got everybody back. All right. How'd you guys do? Pretty easy, huh? Pretty straightforward.
Super helpful.
Yeah. That's great. That's what we want to hear. All right. So just a little bit more additional background on syllabication. To develop the automaticity with polysyllabic decoding, the students really need to know those common syllable types very quickly, automatically. And the reason for this is they can hold the series of syllables in their phonological short-term memory in order to do that long task of blending in a split second. So students who attempt sound by sound will not be able to hold those hold the sounds in their memory and blend them together. And it's important for us to remember that syllable divisions are not always clear. So dividing before a consonant when there is only one consonant between 2 vowels only works 75% of the time. And I'm going to take you back to the Appendix A, and you'll see in the middle here, those 3 useful principles for chunking longer words into sentences. Here at number 2, that's what I'm talking about right here. This only works 75% of the time. And this one only works 25% of the time. And I'll give you an example. Suppose you're doing this word rival. Students have to first identify, if they use the closed syllable rule for the word rival, they would say rival, and they might pronounce the first syllable with a short I, rival. And so they need to identify whether it's a real word or not. So they need to know how to change automatically the division and the vowel sounds if it's not real. Tonight, the San Francisco Giants will play their longtime rival, the LA Dodgers. Well, is that right? No. And then they change it to rival. Okay. And then vowels in unaccented syllables are the schwas, the sound, regardless of the actual vowel. So in other words, any vowel may say one of the schwa sounds, which is the short U or the short I, in an unstressed syllable or unstressed word, like in the word adapt. They don't say adapt, it's adapt, because dap is that stress syllable, adapt. Or in president, president. So you hear that president, very, very lazy. And the kids always ask me, why does that do that? And I just say, the human mouth, the tongue, teeth, the lips, they were lazy. And we're just trying to get through that word as quickly as we can. And that's what we do. So adapt. And another thing is we want to make sure that they're flexible, that these learning strategies only provide a ballpark or a guide, because it's not as simple as just knowing how to apply the strategies. They need to be flexible. They need to try different approaches and division patterns if the first strategy didn't work, and they also need to know whether it's a real word. So vocabulary plays a very important role. So a student may know all the word attack strategies, know the 6 syllable types in and out. But if he doesn't have that word in his oral vocabulary, in his lexicon, he's not going to be able to come up with the correct word. So an example is from the San Diego Quick, that's a word identification assessment. There's a word abolish. So a student will try the most common strategies and say abolish. Is it a real word? I don't know. He tries abolish. Is it a real word? He still doesn't know. So he'll probably go with the most common strategy and would say abolish. So that abolish example shows that that student had a feasible pronunciation. Yeah, that makes sense. He understands the 6 syllable types. He can syllabicate, he can decode, but it was his oral vocabulary that limited him in getting the word correct. So the bottom line here is teachers need to evaluate the student errors. We need to do error analysis to determine whether the vocabulary plays a role or whether we need to back it up and give that student more polysyllabic strategy instruction. So let's go ahead, open up your Padlet again, or for the first time, and let's grab the big ideas for syllabication. Just take a few moments to reflect on your learning around the background on syllabication and post your thoughts to the Padlet.
Okay, we're going to the Padlet. Okay.
And I put it in the chat too, if you want a direct connection to it. And then you just hit the plus sign in order to add it. As you guys are doing that, I'm going to share a story about my niece too. So my niece, Christina, when she was in elementary school, was in a year-round school, and she never went to school in November. So she was never accustomed to all the terminology and words around Thanksgiving. And she was reading the Magic Treehouse Thanksgiving. And my sister asked, well, what part are you on? And she goes, the part where they go to Plymouth. Well, she had the civilization, but she had never heard Plymouth. So it definitely was not in her vocabulary quite yet. Okay.
All right. And I'm not on the Padlet, so I'm not watching the things come on. There we go. Yeah, the schwa is, it's hard for teachers to oh my gosh, I don't know if I should go here with what I have something to share about the schwa. And this was years ago when I was a very young teacher. It's probably my second or third year of teaching third grade, and we were doing syllabication, and I wanted to teach them where the stress was on the word. And one of the words was happiness. Okay, so you can imagine where this is going, right? I said, boys and girls, this is third grade, mind you. Happiness, happiness, happiness. Oh my God. And I was young and naive. And I go, okay, let me do it again for you, because they laughed and they twittered. And I'm like, oh, they didn't get it. So I did it again.
Oops.
So, oopsie.
All righty. So yeah. Okay.
This is good.
There. All righty. So
Yeah, we need more vocabulary strategies.
mhm,
Totally agree.
okay.
I hope you're going to session 3, Scarborough's Rope, because we'll be talking a lot about vocabulary development.
Okay.
Okay.
So hopefully- and so now I am going to be talking a little bit about, if I can get my screen, one sec, set up the way I need it to. So give me just a moment. I'm missing something here. So I'm sharing 2 screens and sometimes 2 is too many. Okay. And so I'm actually going to now we're going to do a text analysis and how we go about doing the instruction part of this when we're trying to teach them polysyllabic. And by doing the text analysis, you're putting it into a text that it's real for them and that they're actually going to have to read and access. As always, we bring it back to our Shufflebind's framework of literacy. If you remember this from our first session here, the left-hand side is going to be our skills needed to learn to read. This is going to be heavily done in our primary grades, working on that phonics and phonemic awareness and building up that automaticity. But on the right-hand side, this is where students are reading to learn. And this is where you're working on those comprehension strategies, building like the vocabulary, just as we are talking about, and also the text structure and the syntax. And a lot of this stuff into building up these skills, you still need to break down those words for them so that when they become decoders and they see parts of the words, putting it together helps them develop the meaning that they need in order to comprehend the text. And then at the end, write about it and have conversations about what they are reading. And this is where we're going to start. We're going to start with the backwards planning. So in our text here, we use the Wonders curriculum now, but you can use this for any other type of text that might have an inquiry question or given a purpose of reading. Here, we're going to take a look at an essential question. And this is an essential question that is from a 3rd grade text. And it's saying, why was teamwork important for Jordan's exploration? That's our essential question. So now we're going to backwards plan and figure out what words do they need to be able to know, be able to read and understand in order to be able to talk about it receptively and from their reading rather, and then expressively through their writing. And so it really is easier to backwards plan, go into the text, pull out these words, and then put those words into your lesson throughout the week. And so we're going to try this with an informational text. So in a few minutes, you're going to be going back into your breakout rooms, and you're going to have an opportunity to take a look at the text itself and go through there and see, first of all, you're going to select 20 multisyllabic words. You're going to skip over proper nouns and names rather. And out of those 20, then you're going to add a star to those to prioritize words that are either those high utility or those vocabulary words that they're going to need to know. And in order to answer that essential question, and again, this essential question is, why is teamwork important for exploration? But then you're also going to we talked a little bit about those syllables and some of those sight syllables. So you're going to find those sight syllables that you're going to be explicitly teaching or reviewing with your students, like shun or pre. So you're going to be doing it through this story called Teamwork to the Top. And so we're going to do the analysis here, and this is where you're going to go into your breakout room to this. So on your digital resource, you are going to be able to find the document there. It has the story in it, and you're going to open that up and work as a team to read through the text. You're going to, again, make a copy of it. One person shares. You're going to select 20 multisyllabic words, and you're going to add a star to prioritize those that are high utility or vocabulary words that you want them to be able to talk about at the end of reading the story with maybe classmates, or to write about. So which are the ones that they're going to need to use in order to answer that essential question? And then also look for those sight syllables that you're going to need to explicitly teach or review with them. I'm going to give you a caution. I think there's 2 slides in here. Just look at the first one right now. So can you give me a thumbs up if you are able to open that? Okay, and so we're going to go ahead and put you in your breakout rooms. And so I'm going to ask Kristi to do that because she has access to that. And so you're going to go into the same breakout rooms. Are there any questions before you go into the breakout room? Okay, you're going to have about 7 minutes to complete this task. You only need to do it on one document. And we're looking at these words because then I'm going to show you how to put them into a weekly lesson with your students. So go ahead and launch the breakout rooms, Kristi.
Okay.
And then we'll see you back here in 7 minutes.
No.
Okay. So now we're going to just take a look, and I want you in the chat, if you don't mind, is to add
Maybe it's the
those
shine.
of your starred words, the high utility or vocabulary word that you
That's syllable.
so you're going to do that in your chat. So some of those high, and if you're not on mute, go ahead and put yourself back on mute, please. Okay. So just one of the ones, the vocabulary words that you guys use just to star. What was them you came up with?
Oxygen. That's
Good.
a good one.
Delaney Mountain.
Sherpa.
Oh, Sherpa.
Experienced.
That's good.
That is a good one. That also shows your site syllable.
Expert.
Okay. All right.
Exploration. Shun.
Okay. Prepare. All right. Great. Thank you. And so now let's just take a look, and some of you may have already taken a look at these ones as well. But this is just one possible answer in some of the words that they might have. And then taking a look at a lot of the ones that you guys put into the chat, they're very similar to those. And again, that, the shun and the pre and all of these site syllables, are important to do explicitly teaching of them and reviewing with the students. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little bit about how we put this into a routine. And so taking this text analysis, how are you going to incorporate it into a daily routine you can do with your students? For those you can do this with them whole group. And then you can also, for some students that struggle a little bit more, you can do it in small groups as well. So we're going to take a look at this here. Okay, so I went wrong. Sorry. So we're going to take a look at this routine. It's a word analysis routine. So we just did the analyzing of the text. And now we're going to take a look about putting it into an actual lesson. And this is what you're trying to do here is you really want to be able to craft the lesson, a polysyllabic lesson around your ELA program or from content text. Because again, you're asking yourself, what do I want the students to be able to do at the end of reading this text? I want them to be able to do something in reading as well as in their writing. And so you're taking a look, you're analyzing it just like you guys did, finding those words for the end product. What do I want them to be able to do? And so there are some quick steps for completing this weekly lesson planner. You want to do this, and this was a lesson that George went over with you in November. So this was the first one we did with open and closed syllables. You're warming up the brain. You have 3 columns. So in the first one here, you're going to have the open syllable, and then you have your closed syllables, and you're first reading down, and then you're reading across. I'm going to show this to you in a little bit more detail in a few minutes. Then you're going to take from those 20 words, you're going to select 10 of them. And you're going to take 5 of those are going to be for framing. The framing is what the teacher does. The teacher will frame the syllables for them to read. And then 5 is for them to divide the word into syllables. And this is the students that are doing it. The students are dividing it. Again, I'm going to go over with you and show you how this is done. Then you're going to select some of the site syllables from those words, like shun, re, and then you're also going to be modeling the morphemic transformations of one target vocabulary word. So here, like in the word explore, you're adding S to it, ED, on exploring, exploration, because it takes and changes the meaning. explore is a verb, exploration can be a noun. And with this morphemic transformation, you're also really bringing it about and having them really look at the helping verb and the grammar structure and what's going to make the most sense. So we have a weekly lesson template. And so if you go to your digital resources, you're going to take a look at this template here. And so we have this all done for the story that you just read. It's going to prompt you to make a copy. Okay. And so this here, so you can have here is that 3 columns. So you have the words that are going across here. You're going to build that into your routine. Then you have reading by syllables. Okay. Again, the reading by syllables is teachers framing it. And then you have your sight syllable where you're introducing and then you're reviewing your morphemic transformations, dividing by syllables, and then guided spelling. And I'm going to go over this with you more in detail, but I'm going to give you about 2 to 3 minutes now to explore this on your own. And then go to your Padlet and add some thoughts about this word analysis lesson planning template. So I'm going to give you 2 to 3 minutes to go ahead and take a look at the lesson planning template and then jot down any thoughts you have on the Padlet. So we'll give you about 3 minutes to do that. So you can go ahead and continue putting your thoughts down if you haven't, but I'm going to go ahead and move on to then go over with you what a lesson is going to look like. And, for me, this was what, because when last year I was doing this online, I was doing distant learning. And so I had to create slide decks that I would just then project with the student. I would go through all of these routines with them. And now, but I'm just looking at it, it's so hard to try to frame the word when you're online. You can't do it as well. So just really being in person and doing these routines, I think, are very powerful. And there are certain words and things that you need to make sure that you're saying with them. And, when you're doing the syllable, the single vowel is positional. So if it's at the end, it's going to be long. If it's not at the end, it's going to be short. And so we have our open vowels here and they're at the end. And then our closed here, it's short because it's not at the end. Students will have a tendency to say it's in the middle. And you want to make sure that you are correcting them and saying, nope, it's not at the end. Because if you look at right here, like in, it's not in the middle, it's in the beginning. And so you really want to have them become attuned to where the position of the vowel is. Again, the reading circuit, we're trying to rewire that reading circuit inside the brain. And these questions and these prompts are geared to do that. And so this is just really some terminology and questioning and routines that you want to establish with your students. So when you're doing this is going to take about 1 to 2 minutes. You're going to read the columns going down, and then you're going to read them going across. And with this, if they make an error, it's like you want to bring it to their attention. Where is the vowel? At the end, is it long or short? And then the sound. You also want to be attuned to your sound cards. So let's say that we're reading this and we're going to this first line here, and they do the first one. Let's say it's instead of pay, it's pa. And so you want to say to them, and I'm going to ask, if you don't mind, unmute and you become the students, because I want you to practice this routine with me. So if you don't mind, unmute and say this incorrectly.
Hey,
Hey,
Where is the vowel?
at the
At
end,
the end.
Long or short?
it's
Long.
Long. Train, sound.
Hey.
So this is where you're using this little mnemonic and you're saying train and getting them to realize it's a long A sound so that you're reminding them what the sound is. Again, just to let you know, students will try to rush through this and you just really sometimes need to slow them down and bring them back to that routine with them. Okay, and so utilizing the sound cards are really important at this point and doing those practicing. And then you're going to be reading the polysyllabic words by framing the syllables. So you can use 5 to 10 from either your core ELA, science, or social studies text. You want to write them out already on a piece of paper or a document camera, or even on have it on a slide deck all ready to go. And you want to use your hands or your fingers to frame each of the syllables. And you're going to have them read syllable by syllable, and then they're going to read the entire word. Again, the teacher does the dividing, and the correction you're asking them is, does this sound like a word you know? So let's take a look at this word right here. And again, you become the students, and I'm just going to sweep underneath it and have you read the first syllable. So I'm going to prompt you and say, read,
doc,
read, read,
meant,
read.
document,
document.
Does this sound like a word you know?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And that's what you're going to do. So I did it in transitions on a slide deck. And so, just reading those syllables, and the kids then, oftentimes it was a game to them. They wanted to be the first one to guess which word it was. So you just really sometimes have to slow them down. And then you're doing the 3 sight syllables. And this is again to build syllable automaticity. So you're going to introduce it like 3. And you have some of their higher frequency syllables like shun, or the consonant LE, like bowl. Okay. And then some that are morphemes, which have the sounds. Then you want to put these on flashcards, and you want to review with them, like 20 of them, and then some that are new. Some of the sight syllables have meaning behind them, like try means 3. And so when you're telling them what's the meaning, try, then they know that if they come to tricycle, it has something to do with 3. Like ist, meaning like, childish. So those types of training and telling them about the syllables at this point is very helpful. And so when you're doing this, you're doing the routine is read, spell, read. The correction is you're just going to tell them what it is. Okay, you're just going to say the syllable is shun. You're going to read, spell, T-I-O-N, read, and it's going to be shun. That's really the routine that you're going to be doing with them. I had a sheet that had all of the sight syllables on it. We also had a book that I had the kids make, and they entered it in when we were doing those sight syllables with them, that they had to say what was the meaning, and then what's a part of speech it could influence. And then your morphemic transformation. And this is helping then build some of that vocabulary and understanding of also some of the grammatical structures that you have within a sentence. So this is going to be where you're adding your inflected endings and your affixes. So together with the students, you're going to co-construct the morphemic word list. So you're going to start with the word explore, and then you're going to add the endings to them, or prefixes or suffixes. And then the teacher is going to present like closed sentences. So this again, like if you have I blank the mountains, if a child puts exploring, then you're going back and you're correcting like, no, you had to have the word I am exploring. You needed to have the helping verb am there. I explored the mountains. You're looking for the ending of the E. So when you have those closed sentences, that is really helping them also to understand that. And then they have to come up with their own sentence as well. Okay. Here we're dividing the words into syllables. This is, again, this is going to take maybe 3 to 4 minutes. And this is where the students do the work in dividing. So again, there are some simple routines and questions that you're going to ask of them. So you can start with 2-syllable words. Again, you can see, you can highlight the vowels and ask, here's your routine. How many consonants between the two vowels? 2.
Two.
Divide where? Between.
Between.
This is where you as the teacher put the dot right between so they can visualize it. And then you're going to ask them first syllable.
Yes.
Next syllable.
Pet.
Read.
Basket.
Okay. Word we recognize.
Yes.
And then you build up to more than 2 syllable words. And this, I can't stress enough how important it is to spelling and having them practice spelling it, the polysyllabic words with assistance. Because here, and you're talking about it, how do we get them to pay attention to that syllabication? And this is where you're reminding them about the different rules. So you can choose about 4 polysyllabic words here. So let's practice this with this word. Say the first word is going to be stable. Use in a sentence. The horses are in the stable. Now the students repeat the word. So stable, you repeat.
Stable.
Stable.
Now let's say the word in syllables. Stay.
Oh.
First syllable.
Stay.
Now you're going to write stay. Be careful. It's not the word stay. It's the syllable where the vowel at the end is long. Next syllable.
Bowl.
Right, bull. It's not the word bull. It's one of our sight syllables.
Okay.
So this is where you're really tying it in all together for them. So now we have given you the blank lesson plan. If you notice right here, it's about the size of a sticky note. Well, that's because you can use this kind of as a planner. Maybe you want to this is kind of a small spot to put 4 lessons, but maybe you want to put all the lessons that you're going to use for the week. And so you can change the words, but the routines need to stay the same.
Okay.
And so you can do multiple, you'll follow along with the essential question, because oftentimes, like in Wonder's, different stories build upon the same essential question. Okay. And so I want to again draw your attention to why you're giving them that corrective feedback. And you're doing it again because of that reading circuit that we talked about, that orthographic mapping that's happening inside the left hemisphere of the brain. So when you're looking at here within your letter box here, where is the vowel? You're paying attention to where the letters are. How many consonants between these 2 vowels? Again, let's look and see and pay attention to the letters. Okay. Is it long or short? Okay. You're looking at those sounds. Does this sound like a word we know? Again, you're trying to get them to rewire their brains so they're paying attention now to the language. Okay. And that's why these things are very important in doing those types of questionings. You can apply this to content vocabulary. So you can do and have them broken out by syllables when you have to maybe have a vocabulary chart and focusing in on these. And also when you're doing like from a vocabulary from a story. Okay, so you could have these charts posted up there, or you can utilize these words when you're doing your lessons with them. Okay, so now is the time for you to do some thoughts. And I know that they intentionally gave us a little bit more time in our sessions today. We can also maybe have some discussions once you do that. So if you would like to go ahead and put some of your final thoughts here, we'll finish up our little portion of what we need to do on ours, but we might have a few minutes that if people want to have a dialogue with one another and kind of talk about that, we can do that as well. But take a minute here to kind of put down your collective final thoughts on the Padlet, because this is something you guys can go back to and we can, refer to it so we can use it as a working document to support each other.
And we can also answer any questions later too, although these are anonymous. So if you really have a burning question, make sure you put your name and we can get back to you.
Okay.
Well,
So
somebody asked,
I was going to say, because sometimes it's a misconception that CRLP is a phonics program. It's not. It's teacher training. And which is the number one indicator of success. I think that this is where we should.
Oh, sorry, Luann, I just muted you.
That was rude. Okay.
I know. Oh my gosh.
Good thing you're not being evaluated this year. Just kidding. Just kidding. So anyway, but I think that teacher training is where we need to put a lot of resources, because, the number one indicator is that the teachers have been trained well enough in these types of things. In a phonics program, as long as you have the right tools to use inside your routines and instructions, you can make a phonics program work for you. I used, and so somebody had put down, how do you do it when you're not inside the classroom and taking it? That I use the program SIPS because it gave me this foundational, this routine was what we used. And SIPS was the brainchild of John Scheffelbein, who also then was one of our co-authors of the CRLP program.
Luann,
Yes.
does the SIPS break it down into that lesson template that you just had?
It doesn't give you the template because it's not going off of a particular story. Going off of just the routine of
Right. Oh, okay.
And doing all of these routines.
Okay. So that'll help. I'll go back and look through BrainSpring and see if that's aligns with that template, because I like the idea of reviewing. I like the idea of building, I just like the way that it's a routine oriented. Does it take like 15 or 20 minutes or 10 minutes to do everything?
Well, it builds up to it.
Okay.
In the beginning, it was definitely, I've spent more time, but then I really got it down to that we're doing this routine in 10 to 15, maybe less, because then I would spend the remainder of the time actually having them get into text and read and practice skills.
Okay. Is that a year-long class, the CRLP course?
So it's CRLP does institutes. So the results training is a 5-day. And it builds upon actually taking assessments and looking at the assessments and then figuring out where the students are and what they need. Building on how to, incorporate comprehension strategies, text analysis, and things. So it has been done over a 5-day institute.
And is that where you learn to do the template? Where you learn to do all of this? Was in that 5 days? Yeah. Okay.
Well, and I've been a part of their organization for 22 years. I've been doing it. So they have teacher institutes throughout the year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
And Berkeley.
And Joni, it's been a long time since our district participated in CRLP. I think the last time we did it district-wide was probably 20 years ago.
But we can
So-
choose to do it.
Yeah, but we're really pushing for all TK through 8th grade teachers to get this training.
Perfect.
It's something I want to make sure is in place before I retire, because everybody's asking for it. They're hungry for the knowledge and the expertise.
Right. There's definitely a shifting in the balance of of reading groups versus the science of reading and all the components that we need to be using effectively.
Okay.
So
now we're going to do our report card here. Oh, go ahead, Kristi. Sorry.
I just want to say that because we don't know who asked these questions, maybe later Luann and I will go and comment on the answers, and then you can go back to the Padlet and just check it out and see if we answered your questions. And of course, if you have any burning questions, just email either Luann or me. Email Luann. I'm just kidding.
All righty. Okay, so now we're going to just take a look and see how we did. So just utilizing your reactions, you can give us a thumbs up or even just physically thumbs up sideways. So did you gain a deeper understanding for the Common Core foundational reading skill standards for upper elementary and adolescent students? Okay. Developed some key background knowledge on syllabication about the 6 common syllable types for the upper elementary and adolescent student encountered in reading polysyllabic words. Awesome. I know Kristi did wonderfully. Learned a routine for analyzing grade level text to determine instructional needs around polysyllabic decoding. Okay, and become familiar with the lesson planning template for teaching the polysyllabic word analysis skills. Okay, awesome. Yay.
Right.
Okay, and so again, we do appreciate you. We thank you for being present, especially when I, was able to go in breakout rooms and see. really saw a lot of engagement. So I appreciate that. Thank you for being students with us today. And if you want to learn more, you know, CRLP, they're out of Berkeley. George Ellis is the director, and he brings a really fresh view to it, having been a teacher leader. So try to go on the Facebook page there. And I will try to, as I get certain updates and things like that, try to keep the district updated on many of the institutes and things, particularly those that participated in here, because I know that I would love to have more opportunity to work with George and bring him back into our district.